Hello, dear viewers. I just got back from an awesome rock concert, and what better way to wind down for bed than a little bit of crawl? Let's go with, let's keep going with Sir Try Once More, and a long line of try-hard gargoyles, following the original Sir Try-hard and Sir Try Again, who ascended out of the dungeon, and there've been a lot of tries since then. What were we doing? Oh, let's see. We cleared the lair. Cool. Dungeon level 9. We haven't found the orcs yet. Snake pit is a possibility. I guess we did poke our head into the shoals there. Yeah. This is Control O, by the way. It brings up this screen. It's a nice screen. Tells you what you've been to. Obviously, it doesn't check to see if you've cleared anything, but all right. Well, let's go back to the dungeon for a little bit. I feel like we are strong enough to delve down a couple more levels. Let's see, what kind of equipment do we have here? Yeah, in case we encounter cold. Though that stops us from casting spells. At some point, I'd like to find another source of cold resistance. What have we here? What kind of zombie is this? A two-headed ogre zombie. Zombies are not really hard generally. They're much easier than their regular counterparts. They have none of the special abilities. They don't wield weapons, etc. Our fire magic is at level 6. Oh, that's cool. Let's try out a fireball here. Blam! Yeah, the hunger cost for this has got to be huge, yeah. Fortunately, we can eat poison meat, so we can chomp on that scorpion. What happens if we try and firebrand? Can't enchant this weapon. Okay, yeah. Artifacts or weapons that already have brands don't get an additional brand when you put fire on them. We're just gonna wait for this zombie to come to us and smack it a couple of times. No need to, no need to be incredibly cavalier about our hunger. Yak zombie, also not a worry, but we will go ahead and stand on the staircase. An interesting thing to note about undead is that they cannot climb stairs or descend. Ooh hoo hoo! We got a scroll of acquirement. It even has nice little blue text. By the way, I believe R is well, I have something else bound to R, but you can press R to read scrolls. I am using the mouse on this particular version. Anyway, we're going to read our scroll of acquirement. It's pretty neat. I guess we'll probably get some boots if we choose armor. I should have searched and see if we'd missed any boots along the way. But boots aren't bad. There can be some really great boots. Boots of running, or boots of speed, I forget what they're called, are pretty good. I think they just make you move faster, which is always nice. Maybe not. Anyway, we're going to go with armor. I don't feel like we need a weapon. We have a really good weapon. Staff, book. I always like to go through each of the options and think of what it might give me. It's weighted towards things you don't already have. So, that's why I'm thinking we'll get boots, because it's the only armor slot that we have not yet filled. So let's see. Oh, no, we get a shield. I guess we do have... Oh, interesting. Okay, huh. Well, this seems pretty bad. But it's not the worst, actually. I mean, the double resist cold could be really nice. If we find a morning star, or especially an evening star with a good brand, we might consider carrying this around. Just in case we encounter a cold monster or something, and since we're sitting at that 1 pip of vulnerability, it makes us take an extra 50% damage. Unlike resistances, which increase in effectiveness the more of them you have, up to a certain amount, like resist fire. Negative resistance, cold or fire vulnerability is a binary. You either are vulnerable to cold or you are not. The extra pips are just in case you have multiple things that apply cold vulnerability. But it's an extra 50% damage, I believe. It's not pleasant to be vulnerable to something that's hitting you. Which since we have another source of resist cold and we're not super reliant on our spells or reliant at all on our spells really, um, we can just pop that on. We don't have to worry about the spellcasting penalty. And 2 strength and 3 dex is not huge enough of a stat boost to really penalize us in battle too much for removing that ring. If you'll notice, Ashanzari is now providing us with the enchantment level of weapons that we see. I'm breaking, again, the cardinal rule of crawl, which is don't move towards your enemy. I probably said that there are 2 or 3 completely different cardinal rules to crawl now, or the rule of crawl or whatever. They're not rules. It's more of a guideline. Yeah, I mean, you could play this game however you want. Like, if it's perfectly viable to play a troll berserker and just run at everything, and it's very satisfying especially after playing a caster, where you have to be super cautious about everything, and really manage your hunger and food costs. Okay, this is actually a tougher enemy than he appears. Joseph is quite a beast. He looks like a mercenary. Yeah, he switches between a fairly powerful sling. We're lucky he has normal sling bullets and not exploding or frost would be particularly bad. Frost sling bullets. Maybe we should put on our ring of resist cold for walking around. That's not the worst idea. Anyway, he switches between a powerful sling and a quarterstaff, which he wields with a great deal of proficiency. I think our armor class is high enough that we don't have to worry too much about sling bullets. I think the calculations for ranged weapons are really bizarre, and it's one aspect of this game that I'm really not all that familiar with yet. I just know that it takes a lot more skill points to get good at ranged things than most other forms of offense. Anyway, I don't think, long story short, I don't think he is powerful enough to do a lot of damage with the sling, because sling's max damage, blah, 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 blah. This is interesting. And that's the reason, by the way, that I walked towards him instead of trying to run away around this corner, which I probably should have done. Slings, I think, have a range of line of sight. So as long as I can see him, so for, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, he'd still be able to see me there. So 5 probably steps, he would have been able to follow and maybe help me with things. That's why I started to go towards him, but this is why you don't move towards your dudes, your enemies. There were other things in the room that are now congregating. See, now he won't throw stones at me, probably, because there are other enemies in the way. Yeah, see, he can still see me. He can't see me. What is the best way to go from here? Probably back towards the stairs. I'm probably being overly cautious about this fight. We probably don't need to make sure we're getting these guys in a choke point. But, you know, why die? I don't really want to run into the darkness, so we'll funnel them into right here. You'll see, I might have, if I hadn't been in such a hurry to kill those things off, I might have left that scorpion alive and just waited a turn for Joseph to get closer. As it is, spilt milk, yada yada. I believe if we step down 1 space, we will break line of sight with Joseph here. Because if he steps there, he won't, yeah, and if he remains there, he can't see this space. So, yeah, but we could see him thanks to Ashanzari. You even have a sense of how strong the monsters are by their little face. Like Joseph looked dangerous to us, so he's got a little growly face, and this is probably a yak, so it's a, looks normal or easy, something like that. Just a neutral face. Alright. We probably could have stepped up there. That would have been a better move. Stepped up from here instead of waiting a turn like we did for Joseph to approach. We probably could have stepped up. He would have still walked into that space for line of sight, and then we would have just one more step to take to close with him completely. As it is, we have 2 steps. Do I want to use a wand or not? I mean, not really. Oh, actually, I do, because I want to show you a cool thing about Crawl. And Lightning specifically. This also works with the spell Zap, the starting spell of the Air Elementalist background. The first spell in that book, anyway, that you have memorized. And it's bouncing. See, we're 2 squares away. Oh, no, we're only 1 full square away from the edge. I'm positive that I can get it to bounce twice on Joseph. It might even be a quad bounce, but I don't know if those still exist. No. Anyway, definitely a double bounce. What you do is you use the exclamation point key. You either use the keyboard or the mouse to hover over your target, and then you hit exclamation point, which fires it in a straight line. So instead of aiming sort of here-ish with this lightning, we're aiming directly at this wall, and it will bounce back and hit Joseph at least one more time. I think if we were 1 square further away and we fired it at that angle, there we would want to fire it at the monster and not at the wall. It would be a quad bounce. It would hit him 4 times, which is insane. As it is, it'll hit him twice, and I actually think it'll bounce back up this hallway for a little bit. Anyway, should hurt him quite a bit. Yeah, the bolt of lightning hits Joseph, the bolt of lightning misses Joseph. Okay, so 1 hit, that actually didn't do all that much. So it was just a double bounce. We'd have to be further away for a triple. Yeah, I feel like we have a much better chance taking him on in melee. Wow, yeah, he's not doing any damage with that sling, so we probably didn't have to be nearly this cautious. But, oh, boom. Yeah, we're fine. Oh, look, the little sad face for the goblin. He's not strong at all. Leather arm of poison resistance was what I needed for a previous character, who will not be named. Pressing A to butcher all of it. I don't want to eat the orc flesh. I do want to eat the centaur flesh. Sure. Kobold. Some people pronounce it Kobold. Some people pronounce it Kobold. I'm not sure that one is definitively better. Oh, our first artifact cloak, and it's awful. Awful, awful, awful. -7 damage. That's just the worst. I'm not sure. I believe that would be a good cloak for a caster, say, I guess. I mean, it's like a cloak of intelligence, so it's not awesome. But spells are not affected by slaying, is what the accuracy and damage bonuses are called. So, meh. We'll leave it here. I can't foresee us ever using that. On the bizarre chance that at some point we use Ashanzari to switch all of our maces and flails skills into a spell school, that's the only scenario that cloak would be useful to us. And even then, probably not. I mean, why? Oh, see, this is one of those rare occasions where we would have benefited by carrying around a dart or something dumb like that. Because we could throw it at that giant spore and prevent it from hitting us in the face. But we actually don't care because we don't breathe, so that's not really going to affect us. However, it is a cool opportunity to bounce. Probably didn't need to use that wand, but I know that we have at least 1 scroll of recharge Microphone went out there for a moment. I don't think you missed anything, though. I just said that we probably have a scroll of recharging lying around somewhere. Nemelex Zobe. With a deck of cards already handy. One of these days, I think a video soon, I will try a Nemelex run. Nemelex is the trickster god. You sacrifice items. See, our weapon is an artifact, which means it cannot be corroded by this jelly, so we're going to smack it. Yeah, and our armor is resistant to it because of its +3. I guess our gloves would be at risk. Gloves, yeah. And this cloak, I guess, could be corroded if it hits us. Well, we found a +3 ring of dexterity, which is not all that useful to us. I believe we already get that from one of our rings. We also get some punching bags. I believe I heard one streamer call them popcorn. I don't know if that's a colloquialism or if it was his specific term, but I like it. Just pop, 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 pop. That's stuff that isn't conceivably dangerous to you, except in conjunction with something that is, legitimately dangerous in its own right, and they are just cluttering your field of vision, for example. Messing up your line of sight. Manticores, not so tough when you're right up next to them. I am kind of just tabbing through things. Oh, well, I was about to say we're really strong for this part of the dungeon, and then we bump into a Cyclops at the end of a hallway. A Cyclops will throw large rocks at you with big burly arms, and surprisingly good aim for having no depth perception. Fortunately, we move at least as fast as it does, and so it cannot both keep line of sight with us and throw rocks. This is why you use auto explore or some other form of movement that stops when you see monsters, because if we have been using the directional keys as we are now, or the numpad keys, he most certainly would have had a few free shots on us from just 1 or 2 steps, and that can be enough to kill you. There he is. Okay, cool. Yeah. So now we're close enough to engage him in melee, and we should be fine. Yeah, see, he still had 2 large rocks. I think each rock can do up to 50 damage. Something absurd like that. Large rocks have just massive, massive base damage based on however throwing things is calculated. That's about as specific as I can get with that. We don't really care about poison needles at all. Let's just sort of fall back here. I wanted to wait for a couple of turns and see who sorted themselves to the front. See, this demonologist is summoning a 6-Fury, just level 2 demon. You can tell by the little star in, like you can see in this shadow image, the little star in the bottom left corner of their tile portrait shows you how powerful the demon is. So this is a level 1, this is a level 2, or rank 1, rank 2. In any case, neither of them is particularly threatening to us. Rank 3, we might be concerned about a rank 3 demon. We would at least give it a fair amount of respect. And certainly anything rank 4 or rank 5 would be, well, not found on Dungeon 11, certainly, but also cause for extreme alarm and probably a panic button of some sort. Even a teleportation scroll on an unexplored level like we have. Ooh. This may be something new, or I'm not sure, but we have already gained the ability to reconsider our skills. What it does is it transfers, I think it's a trickle transfer from one skill to another. We don't really want to do that right now. I don't have any skills that I necessarily want to change. And it costs enough piety that it's not really spammable. You can't always be retraining things. So, for example, getting my shield skill dumped into fighting or whatever, it isn't really worth the piety cost. At some point, if I find some really cool artifact of some sort, that's what's most likely to make me want to use that. Uh, Ice Beast. Ooh, we have a cold vulnerability. I'm not really afraid of the Ice Beast, but there's no reason whatsoever to walk into a fight where we can avoid being vulnerable to something. I could have dropped my potions there if I really felt like it, but our mace is going to do hefty damage even if he completely resists all of the freezing damage. Um, that's an interesting interaction. I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that with projectiles, like darts or arrows that are branded or affected by a branded weapon, such as fire or ice, they turn completely into that form of damage. However, a branded weapon does additional damage, I think, from just the brand. It doesn't turn all of the damage from the weapon into that elemental type. So I think it only makes them resist the extra damage. But I could be wrong. It could still be, could still all be affected, and that ice piece just didn't resist our frosty mace. I'm probably, yeah, this is where I'm going to back off now that that priest is in view. Even at this level, a priest left unchecked for too long can rapidly whittle down your hit points. We just, we're still not really scared of him. We just don't want to stand there fighting things in line of sight for 6 turns straight. Um, just no need to take that risk. When we can, safely back away. I might have, stayed if I didn't have as much of the level explored as I do. I might have felt like it was safer to fight in this little choke point then. Okay, that's a gargoyle, one of our brethren that has fallen prey to the dungeon's corruption. Problem with being a gargoyle is you have to respect other gargoyles. Everybody has to respect gargoyles. We should be fine, though. We should be okay. Especially since, well, I was going to say especially since we have a meat shield between us and them, but that monster may not walk around the corner. So we're going to break line of sight, just in case. We're going to... Yeah, okay, cool. He comes back. We don't care about this orc at all. Okay, cool. Now we have that sort of dancing tactic. Lured the gargoyle in. I don't know if he has a ranged weapon or not. I think he's wielding a flail. Yeah. So 10 base damage plus his whatever. We're probably fine. Gargoyles are super scary to find early on, especially if you are an air elementalist. They're quite difficult to fight. Reese, why do you plague me so? Alright, that's fine. We'll be a little risky. I would bet you money that this is the entrance to the orc mines. Should have recognized it from all the orcs, but, I've been yammering on. Alright, yeah, we'll hit the ice beast. Still didn't say that it resisted it. I don't know how resistant they are, if it's like 2 pips or 3, but I would have thought that if it were resistant to the, or maybe the brand only transforms the weapon's type when it triggers, and otherwise it behaves as a normal weapon. I don't know. If you know the answer, please leave it in the comments. If I haven't looked it up by then, I will greatly appreciate it. That might be another centaur over here, which would be awkward. But yeah, I was hoping that we could just kill him before this other monster became a problem. Oh, it doesn't know we're here. Nope, it's a two-headed ogre, wielding a giant club and a giant spiked club. Ugh. Those are two of the weapons that receive 100% of their damage bonus from strength. Most weapons are a mixture of strength and dexterity. There are some weapons, like daggers and whips, that are more weighted towards dexterity even. Man, hits us with a giant spike club for a lot. I still feel okay, even though it can deal a maximum of like 40 damage or something, and it gets 2 attacks. So it could deal easily 57 damage. Wow, I was about to say I'm not too concerned, but that's actually very concerning. What options do we have available to us? We're wearing our no casting ring, which we don't need. We could switch to this. That seems like a poor use of a half a turn, or whatever it would take. We don't have a source of haste. We could go invisible. That's an option. Yeah, it has no way of seeing us if it's invisible. That doesn't mean he can't hit us. He can definitely still hit us. It'll just make it harder. And we may be able to run away from him reliably, which I think is what we want to do at this point. I don't really like using Berserk Rage when I don't know what's around here, because after your Berserking runs out, you are slowed and exhausted. Exhausted just means you can't Berserk again, but being slowed is what really... we would easily kill this ogre if we berserked, but if there was anything else around here, we ran out of the berserk right as it approached, we would be in lots of trouble. So I think I'm going to go invisible. Later on, most enemies can see invisible, so now is a reasonable time to use those potions. Okay, so I'm going to back away. It kind of knows where I am. I'm going to hope that it swings at the wrong space. And, cool. Bonk it on the head. Zzz. One of its clubs was cursed. Maybe that's why he didn't take me down. Let's back up. Rest up. I mean, no reason to go into a battle 15 hit points down. 20% of our health. On the unexplored sections of the map that we see through our passive mapping, that are little question marks, those are items that we haven't seen, but we're detecting. Okay, an Eye of Draining doesn't actually use the draining attack. It just takes away all your mana, which, meh, we don't care. We are going to bash it, though, before we cautiously approach these other monsters. We don't care even the slightest about exploding darts. I'm not worried at this point about exploding darts. This is why I don't really recommend investing in throwing unless you're having a really, really dry few first levels. Then a point or 5 can help you out because you can just throw everything you find. And you might find some javelins or something else. But, like, darts are the most plentiful throwable object, and they break all the time, and they're just bad. They don't do enough damage to overcome most enemies' armor class by this point in the game. And we're only on dungeon 11. Like, throwing is already mostly useless unless you found some awesome javelins. I guess a blowgun is useful through the lair and the orcish mines. Not so much beyond that. Some of the branches. Okay, blowguns are pretty cool. But the needles, again, are really fragile. They break quite frequently. It used to be back in the day, we have to approach that warrior because he was wielding a polearm. It used to be back in the day you could brand... you could use scrolls of enchantment on your ammo to improve its bonuses and to... Ew, I don't like this situation. You could brand arrows and improve its damage and whatever, prevent it from breaking. Had to finish that thought. So here we have Harold. What is Harold? A middle-aged bounty hunter, anxious to retire from bounty hunting after one final job. Too old for this shit. He hopes to settle down somewhere and live a quiet life with his family, using the money from his final bounty, you. Wow. Oh, wow. His bolt of fire. We have resistance to fire. We're not too worried. He can blink. That's annoying. I hope he doesn't set our scrolls on fire. We have some neat scrolls. Though, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. We're pretty strong. These ugly things, they're a really interesting creature. They change color from time to time if they're around their kin. Because they're all super mutated and stuff. And their color determines their resistance, or vice versa. Cyan ugly things are actually resistant to cold, so that's a little inconvenient for us. Oh, I forgot that I hadn't explored that area. We're gonna just back off here. And pull a couple of these guys. Oh, wow, we're still just demolishing them. Okay. Yeah, this is not hard. That's great. And you'll see their corpse is mentioned in purple. That means it's mutagenic flesh. Some things like shapeshifters or sky beasts, if you want to play mutation roulette, you can eat their flesh when you're hungry and risk a random mutation. Ugly things, I believe, however, always give you bad mutations if you eat their flesh, so don't. Unless you're doing some kind of challenge run where you get more points if you have crappy mutations. I don't believe that negative mutations give you points. I don't know. I'm not really sure how score is calculated in this game, aside from the fact that an ascension with more runes gives you more points by quite a large number. Gargoyle. We seem to do alright against the last gargoyle. What's this one wielding? That's always important. Another flail. Okay, we're fine. Cool. Our stealth skill just reached level 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. 3 points is... I don't think it's enough to really... Yeah, it increased us 1 level of stealthy from very unstealthy to unstealthy. That, may make the difference between something noticing us and something not. And certainly if we go to a lighter armor, that'll be useful. See, with this Sky Beast, we could play Mutation Roulette. I don't want to, because this character's going pretty well, and I don't want to do anything. I don't want to add another variable that doesn't need to be added. So currently we've got this on lockdown. Just going through our potions again. Okay. Not that I thought I would need a potion for that cobalt, but I like to occasionally just apprise myself of what I'm dealing with. I really should be looking at what these skeletons are specifically, but really, I'm not scared of skeletons. Their bones are brittle and weak against the might of our mace. I do occasionally imagine my gargoyle wielding a can of pepper spray. It's really great mace. Yeah, don't play with pepper spray, kids. I mean, it's not fun. Just don't do it. You might think it's cool to do it on a dare or something. Don't. I mean, unless you really think being blind is pretty sweet. Probably won't make you blind, but it could make you blind. And why? It's like crawl. Why would you take that chance? There's very little benefit to the cost if you're doing that kind of analysis. A book of envenomations is interesting. Is it interesting? I might memorize spider form. Spider form, I believe. Yeah, it turns you into a swift, venomous, but poison-susceptible spider creature. Harder to cast spells, but you can walk along walls. currently has a 83% failure, but we're not wearing our Ring of Wizardry. I think I want to memorize this spell. I think that kind of fills a niche that we've been lacking, which is a means to escape things that are the same speed as we are, normal speed, which is most things, or many things at least. And the spider's a little bit faster. I think it's also much stealthier. Yeah, I like this. I like this plan. We were putting points into intelligence for a reason, and I think that reason is spider form. We need to say yes, not just hit enter a couple of times. Yeah, so with wizardry, 50%, that's not bad. I think we can turn off fire magic for now. What's our fireball at? 7%, yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Let's see what it's at without wizardry, not with the anti-cast. Okay, 17. Okay, so it's even usable without wizardry. One thing to note, wizardry doesn't reduce the hunger cost of spells. It only reduces the spell failure, so it's not as good as having actual points in spellcasting. Which I think here's what we're going to do. We're going to put on spellcasting. We're going to take off fighting. Fighting's fine for now. I don't feel like we need few extra hit points right now. I may change my mind when we enter the branches, but we'll turn on spellcasting, and which is more useful, transmutes or poison magic? Pardon me for a moment. I am going to look this up because this is a pretty big decision. Because poison magic, I believe, falls off pretty quickly. We're possibly already beyond the threshold for poison being good. Let's see. Yeah, the highest level poison spells are level 6, which are Poison Arrow and Poisonous Cloud. I think Poison Arrow is really good because it also contains a physical damage component. Yeah, 30% of its damage is irresistible. And it can always poison living things. But undead, non-living monsters, non-living being maybe like gargoyles or animated swords, to distinguish them from undead, which are affected by other things. And that's kind of the only thing we would want. However, I think the only way to find Poison Arrow is to get the Book of Annihilations, which we would have to have. I guess we're pretty close to 10 conjurations with Ashinzari boosting our stuff. But I'm not going to rely on finding a Book of Annihilations. That's a rare high-level book. So that's the most useful high-level spell with that. What else? See, it is kind of cool because we're immune to poison, so we could use Ulgreb's Toxic Radiance. Is that in the spellbook? Yeah. So Ulgreb's Toxic Radiance is kind of cool. You radiate toxic energy, which tries to poison everything around for a while. And for everybody except for gargoyles. Well, like mummies. They're also immune to poison, I believe. Undead are. We're gargoyles. We're immune to poison. This will not hurt us at all. So, and it's pure poison. Alistair's Intoxication is another option, though, that we could just train transmutations and affect both of those. Confuse all, basically, at a lower spell level than not confuse all because we're immune. Ooh, that's good. So what other transmutations? We could eventually get Dragon Form. We could eventually get Necromutation. Although I think that would be almost impossible to cast without going deeply into necromancy, which we could do with Ashen Sorry. Hmm. That basically turns us into a dead. It gives us cold resistance, energy, negative energy immunity, a bunch of magic resistance. Unarmed, draining attacks. That's kind of cool with our horns. But we're already immune to poison and rotting and sickness. Oh, it makes us immune to mutations. Yeah, but we can't quaff potions and stuff. So, I don't know. We probably wouldn't ever go for necromutation. If you want to tune out of this video at this point, I don't think I'm going to go too much further. I'm mostly just going to be thinking about these spells. But if you want to listen to my musings, that's fine by me too. We could get Ignite Poison. I think we already have that spell somewhere. Yeah, in the Book of Fire, I think we have Ignite Poison. That's really, really good in conjunction with Olgreb's Toxic Radiance or, well, the Snake Pit. We have the Snake Pit. Yeah, I think that settles it. I think I'm going to train... Oh, well... Transmutations is a -2 aptitude. Poison magic is at a 0 aptitude. We'll train poison magic. Maybe later we'll consider transmutations. Oh, wow. That actually is good to know. That still hurts us a lot. The explosion hurts us, even if the gas does not affect us, the spores don't affect us. Hill giants are pretty tough. They're very strong. We're stronger. Booyah. Why am I running into things before I'm fully healed? That's silly. This is just sloppy play. I am going to clear this level, I think, and then I'm going to end the video. So, there shouldn't be too much more excitement. We're almost through. I'm just getting tired, and I'm not, I mean, getting tired is a good thing. That's what I wanted to do. With this nice little peaceful bash in the face dude. Alright, we're done with the level. I'm gonna go stand on top of a down staircase just so we, Oh yeah, we're at dungeon level 12. Let's actually go back to the lair just so I don't stumble down the stairs starting this character up again. It's usually nice to start with your stash anyway, since that gives you a good stock of what you have. We can do things like drop this cursed shield. I don't think we're going to need that. Drop these rings of dexterity and intelligence. I didn't mention them because we're not using those at this point anyway. That's not enough of a benefit to spend an item slot on. Would have been like really early game if we had gotten one of those on level 1. We would have been very excited. Just getting an uncursed ring at all, level 1 is pretty sweet. More common nowadays than it used to be. It used to be a lot of things were cursed, even that had beneficial effects. Now it's generally a bad thing. We could recharge. We only have one wand of recharging. I don't know if I want to recharge this wand of lightning. We'll save it. We'll keep carrying it around with us, but I'm not too enthused by it. Definitely something to consider, though, at some point. I'm mostly holding out for like a wand of healing, because wands of healing are boss. So that's something people still say, boss. I don't know. Let's drop a couple of these And by a couple, I mean 4. Nah, 2. I can't drop 3 or 4. I have those keys bound to something else. We can drop this regular Ring of Wizardry. We have our Wizardry Plus. No reason not to wear that instead. And I like keeping on this protection from Fire Ring just constantly. Oh, I should put this on for now. While we're just, wandering about our stash. Protect Fire is sweet. I always like having it, is basically what I was getting at. Whereas, and we've got Resist Cold if we need it. Keep a couple of heal wounds in the bank. Maybe a third heal wounds in the bank. I like having several of these for situations where you need several. Like, often at this point in the game, if you get into a situation where you need 1 potion of heal wounds, you really need 3. Because if it's, if you have too much health remaining, you don't want to use it at all. If you have too little, you probably will need several because things hit really hard at this point. They may hit almost as hard, if not as hard, as the amount that the potion heals you. In which case, it's almost worse to spend turns drinking them. So they basically do cap out inefficiency at a certain point in the dungeon. Like, you have to hope that the turn that you spend drinking the potion is a miss for all of the monsters that are beating you up. Okay, well, I think that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, especially if you stuck around to the end here. And I will see you next time, dear viewers.